Yo, what up, my glip glop?
Hey dog, I heard you wanted to play as a Necromancer in D2.
We got you, dog. You're our boy, dog.
Well, the new aspect, the Wanderer, might just be the thing that lets you live out your dreams of being Destiny's Summoner class. Let's get into the build right now. The first big element we're going to use is the new strand aspect, the Wanderer. After you pick up a tango and throw it, it will attach to enemies, then explode with a burst which suspends everything caught in the blast. Also, your threadling final blows will create a tango. Your tango explosion damage will be lower than when you are not using the aspect in order to facilitate for the suspension effect. This aspect perfectly feeds into the leg exotic Swarmers. They have the effect that destroying a tango will spawn a threadling. Threadlings will unravel targets that they damage. Unraveled targets will create green projectiles that seek out and damage nearby enemies. This effect acts as green Siva nanites. This all means that your threadlings will double dip into damaging enemies a lot of times. The only issue that comes with this is that you need to pick up the tangos. This aspect would have been the most OP option if it acted like last season's Season of Artifacts, where you could destroy tangos from afar and get the suspension effect. For the second aspect, go with Weaver's Call, since we'll be using our grenade all over the place, so having an extra way of spawning wormy dealies will come in handy. For the grenade, the obvious choice is the Threadling grenade. For fragments, we'll go with Thread of Ascent if you don't have a good rocket with demo. This fragment will basically give us Demolitionist on all of our weapons. Obviously, Thread of Evolution for our Threadlings to deal more damage. Thread of Generation, so dealing damage will give us grenade energy back. And Thread of Warding, which will give us Woven Mail whenever we pick up an Orb of Power for the extra survivability. Threads of Continuity or Rebirth are also great choices. Continuity will increase the time suspension affects targets, and you can use Rebirth if you don't have a good weapon with Hatchling. The basic idea here is pretty simple. We're going to start off with our nade, which gives us Threadlings, and they feed into the rest of our abilities. As soon as a Threadling gets a kill, it will spawn a tango. If it's safe around it, go and pick it up. Throw it at a major, which will suspend it and any enemies which are around it. While we're dealing damage to the major, we will spawn unraveling projectiles everywhere, which will both increase our outgoing damage and will feed into our ability regeneration. We don't have much in the way of healing other than the Warlock Rift, so be careful, don't get tunnel vision on a tango. Even though their cooldown is a bit longer than 10 seconds, it's not worth getting killed over the suspend effect that you would get out of it. You will find yourself having a lot of damage though, and a surprising level of AoE, since Threadlings do have an explosion radius, so lower tier content will become an absolute breeze. Now, if you're still here, make sure you hit the like and subscribe to the channel for more Destiny content. I highly recommend you go with a weapon that has Hatchling in your first weapon slot. After trying out a bunch of weapons, the Scout from the Guardian games, Taraxipole seems to be an awesome option, or the Strand Fusion from Iron Banner can also put in some work. For the second slot, going with something that has AoE like the Harsh Language with this row can work wonders. On the heavy side, just go with something that does a lot of damage, something like a rocket for example. If it has demo, even better for your build. Alternatively, you can roll with Leviathan's Breath, which is still one of the best heavy weapons in the game. There is a version of the build that works incredibly in master tier content, but we need to sacrifice a bit of the build's identity. You can swap out Weaver's Call for Mindspun Invocation and swap out the Threadling grenade for a Shackle grenade. This way you can still take advantage of the loop of suspending enemies, but you can play from further away. Destroying a tango with Weaver Strands won't grant you the suspension, but the Threadlings that spawn from it will. You will still have the option of straight up throwing a tango, and that does work wonders, but you will have to do it from safety. I tested it in a master solo lost sector and it works like a charm. It's 100% not the most fun version of the build, but it can definitely work in higher tiers of content. In terms of mods, I will try to do a flyby. On the helm, go with Harmonic Siphon for orb generation and 2 ashes to assets, because our Threadling nade will count towards that. Switch to ammo finders if you're going with the master version of the build. On the arms, go with Firepower to generate orbs of power, nade kickstart for the cooldown assistance it gives, and fastball for the better throwing arm. On the chest armor, go with resistance mods and charged up if you have the slot for it. On the Swarmers, go with Recuperation, stacks on stacks, and Innervation. On the Bond, Reaper or Powerful Attraction depending on what you feel most, and Bomber twice. And that's about it for the build, Guardians. I hope you really liked it. If you did, make sure you hit the like and subscribe to my channel for more Destiny 2 content. I tried making a shorter build video this time just so I can see if you guys like it more. As always, thank you very much for your viewership. Eyes up, Guardian, and I'll see you in the next one.